Alright, people, so welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to this lecture series called Daily News in Shorts, in which we cover the entire day's current affairs within 30 minutes. Now, needless to say this, that just watching this lecture would be job half done because, yes, within 30 minutes, you'll get to cover all your day's current affairs through this lecture series. That's true. But you need to remember these current affairs at least till your examination. Now, you can only remember these current affairs if you revise the entire current affairs just after watching this lecture. So just after watching this lecture, you need to revise it from the notes provided by us. Now, these notes are shared on our Telegram channel, and the link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. So please do not forget to revise just after watching the lecture. Okay? All right then. Let's begin today's session of current affairs. Today we are going to cover 8th of April's current affairs. So let's begin. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. Okay, so let's begin. So daily current affairs, 8th of April, Wednesday, and here is the topics list. So from 8th April, there were only 3 topics that were important from the perspective of UPSC examination. Okay, 3 news items. Number 1, Gulf nations divided over Iran war. Now, this particular topic has now become redundant because there is a ceasefire between Iran and USA. But still, when the war was going on, Arab nations were divided in their opinion, in their approach, diplomatic approach. So what is this entire thing? Okay, how does Iran-US-Israel war affect the Middle East at large? We'll talk about this. Then, Artemis II went farthest from Earth. Astronauts went farthest from Earth ever. They broke the record of Apollo the 13th, where astronauts went the farthest from Earth. Now, this record was broken by astronauts in Artemis II. Artemis II is a landmark mission, and basically it is a mission for Artemis 3, and Artemis 3 is basically preparation for NASA building a base over moon. Okay, so this is that, and then we'll talk about India's natural birth story. You see, well, giving birth can happen through 2 ways. Either it's natural or there is C-section. Okay, now it has been found that C-section is growing. The number of births, live births in India are happening increasingly from C-section. Now this is not advisable. So what is this entire issue, and how can auxiliary nurse midwives help in this situation? Okay, we have to talk about this as well. So these are the 3 topics. Let's start discussing them one by one, starting with topic number 1, and that is Gulf nations divided over Iran war. Now look, ever since Iran-US-Israel war has been going on, well, Iran widened the conflict by attacking the Gulf nations. Okay, the Gulf nations never attacked Iran, but since they are good allies of America, Iran decided to attack them, and not just the military bases, but they attacked civilian centers, economic centers, oil refineries of these Gulf nations like UAE, Saudi Arabia. Now, Gulf countries overall were not united in their approach towards Iran. Some of them, some Gulf countries are asking USA to completely finish Iran. Some are saying that there should be peace. Okay, ceasefire should be there. So what is this thing? Let's talk about this. So Gulf nations divided over Iran war. So what has been the impact of Iran war on Gulf states? And we are talking about Arabic states like Saudi Arabia, Oman, Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, all of them. So first of all, Iran has impacted these states. Okay, these states have been interested. Why? Because Iran targeted their infrastructure. Iran has shifted from targeting only military bases to attacking energy facilities, economic hubs, civilian centers, malls, hotels, these areas. Plus tactical shift from Iran. Iran's use of asymmetrical warfare like drones and all has overwhelmed traditional air defense system of Saudi Arabia and UAE. They are not able to cope up with this. Then geopolitical realignment. The war has forced temporary reconciliation between Saudi Arabia and UAE. You know, before the Iran war, UAE and Saudi Arabia were fighting. But after Iran war, they had to unite against a common enemy, and that was Iran. Because Iran attacked them both. So this is the thing. And the historic opportunity doctrine. Saudi leadership reportedly views the US-Israeli campaign as a chance to remake the Middle East by permanently degrading Iran's influence in the region. Okay, so this has been the impact. Okay, economic impact, geopolitical, historic impact. Now, there have been strategic disruptions because of this war. Okay, first of all, Strait of Hormuz. Iran's effective closure of this choke point has disrupted energy supplies for Qatar, Kuwait, UAE, Saudi Arabia. These countries sell energy. Well, they have had economic losses. And financial losses. UN surveys estimate potential losses of up to 200 billion due to conflict and resultant supply chain disruptions. Plus, earlier there was this Israel Arab states peace agreement called Abraham Accords. Well, now they are these Abraham Accords, which would have brought peace to the region. Well, they are in doldrums. Okay, Iran's hostility towards UAE is partly rooted in Abraham Accords normalization with Israel, which Tehran views as betrayal of Palestinian cause. Now, Iran attacked all the Arab countries, all countries of GCC. Okay, but not all countries have been united in their stance against Iran. Okay, so divergent responses. The conflict has exposed the lack of Arab unity, categorized in three distinct stances. First, Saudi UAE say that US should finish the task. Saudi and UAE are saying that if USA has started this war, it should finish Iran off, completely decimate it. This is one stance. Then there are neutrals. Oman maintains constructive neutrality, calling US-Israeli strikes unlawful while also condemning Iran's retaliation against Gulf neighbors. They are neutral. And then there are vulnerables. Qatar, Kuwait are neutral, but they are more inclined towards Iran. How? Well, they are caught between hosting US bases. Qatar and Kuwait host American military bases, but they also share gas fields with Iran. So they are caught in between. They can't completely antagonize Iran, they can't antagonize USA. So they are not joined. The Gulf Cooperation Council is not united in their response. Now, how this entire war, which is now partially over, there is a ceasefire. Remember, the war has not ended, it's just a ceasefire. How all of this in Middle East affects India. Okay, so dimensions for India. First of all, this region is important for India's energy security because through Strait of Hormuz, we import oil, we import gas, and which is very important for our economy. So this is there. Plus, diaspora safety. Millions of Indians work in Dubai, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. Escalation puts Indian lives and remittances, the money these Indians send back home to India, this is at risk. The vacuum and geopolitical competition. As the US focuses on military engagement, other powers like China, Pakistan, and Turkey are attempting to mediate or increase their influence, which actually happened. Pakistan mediated this. So Pakistan's influence and legitimacy improved in all of this. So this is there. Okay, so these are the things that India looks for in this conflict. Clear? All right. Now let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is Artemis II went farthest from Earth. Now, we have covered in our previous current affairs lectures what Artemis II mission is. Well, Artemis 1, 2, 3 is NASA's plan to establish a permanent base on Moon. The first Artemis 1 mission was an unmanned mission. Artemis 2 mission is basically a manned mission in which astronauts would go and take one orbit around Moon and come back. This was Artemis 2. And Artemis 3 mission would be when astronauts would set foot on Moon, would land on Moon. Okay. Now, Artemis 2 mission has broken all records. How? Because it has taken astronauts farthest they have ever been from Earth. Okay. So this is the achievement of Artemis 2. Let's talk about Artemis 2 again. All right. So Artemis 2 went farthest from Earth. So what is the context? Artemis 2 is the first crewed mission of NASA's Artemis program and the first time humans have traveled to vicinity of Moon since Apollo 17. Apollo 17 was the last time in 1972 when astronauts went close to Moon. And then NASA suspended this Moon program after Neil Armstrong and all. Now, milestone. On April 6, the Orion spacecraft reached a distance of 4,06,771 kilometers from Earth, breaking the human distance record previously held by Apollo 13. The objective of Artemis 2 was, unlike Apollo missions, which were primarily about planting American flag on Moon, footprints on Moon of Neil Armstrong, Artemis 2 is a technological and physiological stress test for building a permanent Moon base. We are testing how we can make a base on Moon for future planetary missions. Okay. Now, what was the flight path on Artemis program? Okay. So the flight path was, the mission does not land on Moon. It uses an elliptical orbit designed for maximum safety and fuel efficiency. Phase 1 was, well, for 42 hours, the Orion spacecraft would stay in the high Earth orbit. then it would take a slingshot mechanism like rotating around the earth and then ahead towards the moon. Once cleared, the European service module pushes Orion towards the moon. It targets a point of 10,300 km beyond the lunar far side. And then gravity assist. The mission relies on moon's gravity to slingshot the spacecraft back towards Earth. So it will go around the moon and then come back to Earth and in high Earth orbit. And then once it enters Earth's high Earth orbit, then it would slowly descend back to Earth and make a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. Okay. Now, what were the key components? First of all, space launch system, the rocket, Orion spacecraft in which the crew would be there, European service model. It supplies electricity, propulsion, thermal control, air, water for astronauts, and laser communication so that astronauts can communicate back with Earth. So all these components were essential for Artemis II mission, and they will be essential for Artemis III mission as well, which will make a landing on Moon. Okay. Now, this mission was landmark for many things. How? Well, the commander, there were 4 astronauts that were taken to space. Wright Wiseman, well, NASA's veteran. Victor Glover is the first black person, to leave Earth's orbit. So it's an achievement for African Americans. Then Christina Koch, first woman to travel to Moon's vicinity. Jeremy Hansen, first non-American to leave Earth's orbit. Okay. So, Americans and Russians have left the Earth's orbit towards the moon. This was the first time. So this mission was it contained many firsts. It's a landmark mission. What is the strategic significance of this mission? It will start a new space race. Artemis is the US-led response to International Lunar Research Station, a joint project between Russia and China. USA is competing with Russia and China. Then it will give a boost to lunar economy also. How? The mission paves the way for mining water ice at lunar South Pole, which can be converted into hydrogen and oxygen, making Moon a gas station for Mars mission. This hydrogen can be used to power future spacecrafts. So there will be a rocket which will stop at Moon. If you have to send a rocket or spaceship towards Mars, it will first make a stop at Moon. It will refuel itself. It's like a petrol pump where hydrogen would be put, and then hydrogen will act as a fuel and then go towards Mars. You understand? That is why we want to build a lunar base. Artemis Accords. India is a signatory to these accords, which establishes a framework for peaceful space exploration. Success in Artemis mission directly benefits India's Gaganyaan mission and India's own space station called Bharatiya Antariksh Station. So because India has signed Artemis Accords, this makes India an ally of USA, NASA in space research. So USA will share data with India, which India will use for its own successful ISRO missions. So this is good news for India as well. Now over here in a table form in your notes also, there is a comparison between Artemis mission and the last time NASA went to the moon, the Apollo missions, 1960s to 70s. So there is a comparison, critical comparison, go through it. It's very simple to understand. Okay. And now let's move on to last news item, and that is India's natural birth story. Now listen to me very carefully. You see, for so many years, government has been promoting institutional deliveries in India. Well, babies are born in India. In many parts of the country where there is very little access to health facilities, well, there are these informal midwives who go and deliver babies in rural homes. People don't even go to hospitals. Now, because of this problem, people do not get good neonatal care, postnatal care, and many people die. There is high maternal mortality rate, infant mortality rate, because these midwives, these informal midwives are not trained. Okay. Now, that is why government wanted to improve institutional deliveries. Institutional deliveries that all these pregnant females should have access to doctors, hospitals. Okay. Now, government has been doing a lot to improve institutional deliveries. Now, institutional deliveries have risen in India also. So very good. Good achievement. But it has had a side effect. You see, hospitals generally tend to prioritize C-section over natural delivery. Okay, cesarean section over natural delivery. So as the number of institutional deliveries are rising, similarly, C-section in India is also rising. Now, generally it is said that C-section is not advisable unless there is a requirement. Otherwise, every pregnant female should go for natural delivery. But in certain exceptional cases where there is a threat on mother or child's life or health, then go for C-section. Okay, but we are witnessing, well, non-essential C-sections as well. So this is the current problem. Now, what is the problem? What is the reason behind this problem? And how can we solve this problem? Let's talk about this, okay? So, India's natural birth story. So, the problem, medicalization of childbirth. In recent decades, India has successfully increased institutional deliveries, nearly 90% as per National Family Health Survey, fifth version of National Family Health Survey. However, this has led to unintended consequences. Now, what are these side effects? Hypermedicalization. Birth is often treated as a medical emergency, okay, rather than a natural process. And when you label it as a medical emergency, you'll always go for C-section. Okay, C-section epidemic is going on. India is seeing a surge in cesarean section. The global average of C-sections is 15%. Whereas in India, some private hospitals have shown 50% C-sections. Generally, 15% C-sections of all is considered normal. But in India, it is 50% in private areas, in private hospitals. Why? Because C-section costs more money and these private hospitals look for profit. Okay? The gap. While doctors are trained for high-risk complications, there is a lack of specialized professionals for low-risk natural births. Doctors are trained for high-risk childbirth. So most of the times, even when the childbirth is low risk, they treat it as high risk and go for C-section. This is a problem. Now, how can this problem be solved? Well, India has various auxiliary nurse midwives, Anganwadi workers, okay, ANMs. These midwives are spread across all rural areas in India, okay, and they can assist in childbirth. We need to use them for childbirth. How? Role of midwives. A midwife is not just a birth assistant but a specialized professional trained to provide holistic care, including neonatal, postnatal, vaccination care, everything. Philosophies focus on respectful maternity care and woman-centered birth. These midwives are females. They handle normal pregnancies, allowing doctors to focus on life-threatening. So go for C-section or doctor only when there is life-threatening pregnancy. Otherwise, ANMs would handle. Global benchmarks. Countries like Sweden and UK, which have lowest maternal mortality rates, rely heavily on midwife. And what are the benefits of midwives? Well, they are trained, so very less chance of maternal mortality rate or neonatal mortality rate. Economic efficiency. Midwife-led units are most cost effective. Okay, it puts less financial burden on people also. Then respectful maternity. Addressing violence, which often discourages rural women for seeking institutional care, and decongestion. If 70 to 80% of births would be handled by ANMs, our hospitals would be less crowded also. So these are the overall benefits. Now, to promote this, government has also taken some initiatives like Lakshay program, Suman, Surakshit Maitritva Ashwasan, midwifery training institutes where ANMs would be trained. Okay, so all of this is there, but still there are some challenges. First of all, well, these midwives are not perceived properly in various societies. Then hierarchical friction, because doctors consider them as competition. Doctors think that if ANMs would handle pregnancies, what about their fees and money? So this is their regulatory gaps and implementation lags. Transition from policy on paper to actual practice. Okay. So these are some of the challenges. Now, this is the way forward, which is given in your notes. Okay. This is how India should deal with this problem. These 3 points are important for your mains answers as well, because in mains answers you need to write about way forwards and all right, and that would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'm sure it has added value to your preparation, but it will add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture series and you revise the lecture just after watching it from the notes provided by us. So in the hope that you are going to do that, I shall take your leave with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.